Join us every Friday night at midnight for Spook House Radio Live, where we cover everything paranormal. And we've got 2 news shows on alternating Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern. First, we've got a new horror show, I'll Podcast on Your Grave, where we discuss everything horror and entertainment. And Retro After Dark, where we take on everything from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, cartoons, movies, video games, and more. So tune into all of our shows. Keep in touch and get the schedule at midnightspookhouse.com, Twitter at The Spook House, and Facebook at The Midnight Spook House.
Mass UFO sighting.
Now this creature is said to prowl the swamps.
Everything is alive.
Becomes more transparent and then finally disappears.
They're a lot closer than we've been thinking. And a good evening to everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. I am Dale as usual. And with me, Ryan.
Hello, hello.
And Megan tonight.
Hey.
And it is not our usual night. We did go live on Friday night. But
guys, it has been I don't even know.
You know,
software failures, like something out there.
If you listened to the show from the beginning, then you know already that we have lots of technical issues, and this week was no different. We had extra special issues.
Yeah, we did.
So this is take 2.
Yeah, this is take 2, and we're doing it because we love you. And we're going to do this Sunday as well. We're going to do an encore like we did on Retro After Dark. So Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern, we're going to play this again. And chances are you will already be there. There'll be some weird time lapse sort of thing happening, and we'll already be together when this is happening.
That's right.
Ooh, spooky. Anyway, so tonight is going to be a fun episode. We're going to get jiggy with it. I literally wrote that down.
No.
See?
You had to write that down.
I did. I wrote topic Men in Black, get jiggy with it. All right. So yeah, tonight's topic, the first half of the show is going to be about the Men in Black. Who are they? What do they want? And a lot of the really cool theories surrounding them. And the second half is going to be all about you. You, sweet you. We'll get to more on that later. But first, let's go ahead and get through the news. Who wants to go first? Megan, you got some news for us?
Yeah, I've got a rather silly story.
Oh, well, we like those.
Yeah. So, according to the Huffington Post, let's see. Oh no, it just went away. KFC is sending their Zinger sandwich into space. And
are we really going to talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous.
The aliens out there feeling hungry.
Well, they're going to have to, let's see, it's going to be launched June the 21st, and it's going to be attached to a stratolite, which I guess is just a satellite in the stratosphere. So it's close.
Stratolite, is that what you said?
That's what they're calling it. It's a stratolite.
Sounds like something you would put together for less than $100, is what it sounds like to me.
Hey guys, you want to send a Zinger out to space? The first case of alien diarrhea discovered.
Maybe this is a like an anti-invasion strategy.
Who knows? Yeah.
What people aliens will get distracted by the sandwich and not want to attack
Just
anymore.
don't put pickles, because those KFC pickles, they do not taste good.
It's like here's a sample of Earth's food. This is what we eat. This is what everybody eats. This is the only food.
This is our tasty little chicken.
This is
Earth sucks.
This is what we are capable of. Yes, this is us.
Could be.
Well, anyway, there is a website that's gonna stream it. It's KFCin.space. Yeah. And then the web address expands to, yes, we are actually sending a chicken sandwich to .space.
Is this going to be like a YouTube guy just like throwing chicken in the air?
No, it's just gonna float around on the
If I can break the barrier, it's gonna make it to space. I'm just saying.
But the best part is they're sending it up there for 4 days, and when it comes home, I'm not sure what they're gonna do with it. There's going to be a
Wow.
sweepstakes to get to eat the space sandwich.
All right.
Wow.
This is a legitimate story, though.
Will this
Like,
will
yeah.
this spawn a group of like conspiracy theorists for the chicken sandwich? You know how we've got like the moon conspiracy theory, like we didn't really go to the moon. It was all shot in a TV studio. Like,
Well, you
they
know,
didn't really send that chicken sandwich up.
if it comes back with a bite out of it,
Then we won.
Then we won.
then we win.
The aliens don't want anything to do with us then.
That's true.
I don't know. I really don't. The zinger could be delicious. Probably not, but I really don't know.
I just want to laugh at this.
if I have to call my sandwich the zinger, you know.
Oh, this is what it's actually going to be in. There's a picture of its little satellite it's going in. There's a window for it and everything.
Oh,
All right. This isn't real, right?
No, this is real.
No, there's no way this is real.
No, there's a whole website. Yes, we are actually sending a chicken sandwich into dot space.
To dot space? What?
Yeah. It's not .com, it's dot space.
on the Stratolite.
Yeah, on the Stratolite.
This is what a time we live in.
I mean, it's obviously a huge publicity thing. They want to get you to buy the zinger, but it looks legit. They're gonna do it.
So, after hearing the story, listeners, do you want a zinger?
Yes.
Will you buy one?
We would love KFC as a
We
sponsor
send one
because
in space?
I like KFC's food, but I don't know if I would want something called the Zinger, especially that
Have
had
y'all
been
not
to
tried
space.
the zinger? Because it's really good. I've had it.
I like their
This
food.
is something, but do you feel comfortable eating a sandwich and not really knowing, its space durability? Like consuming the zinger, like, would this thing be okay in space?
I mean,
Would
I'm
it
not
hold
gonna
together?
try to eat the one that went to space.
It's just something to think about,
These are the things we do think about all week before we do research for the actual show. How long would a chicken sandwich last in space? That's the questions we ask ourselves.
What they're
Well,
asking at KFC.
is there any? Go ahead and give that website address again.
Yes, we are actually sending a chicken sandwich to dot space or KFC in dot space.
And there you have it. This is real, apparently. So, all right. Do you have any more news?
You know what? No, I think that's it for tonight.
All right. Well, Ryan, would you like to go ahead? And,
That's a tough one to follow.
yeah, good luck.
All right. So this is actually paranormal related, and it's a little silly, a little out there, but how about we just go with that tonight?
Yeah, that'll be the theme of the show. Sure.
We're going to start outrageous and then dial it into creepy, like we usually do.
Right.
Okay, so earlier in the week, there was an interview on BBC. Now, this was actually to promote Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So they had Chris Pratt and Kurt Russell on there. At some point during this interview, they got on the subject of UFOs and UFO sightings, and somebody mentioned the Phoenix Light incident. And Kurt Russell pops up, and then he says, "Oh yeah, I was the pilot that reported that, by the way."
Huh.
So everybody's like, "What?"
It's Kurt freaking Russell, man.
So he's revealed more details about his story. So, the Phoenix Lights incident was that incident in Arizona where thousands of people witnessed the same event in the sky. So the first call that came in on it, they got tons of reports going on throughout the night. That's what makes it such a significant case. There were so many witnesses and so many reports coming in of what people saw. So the first known report of that incident, the first witness, came from what was thought to be a civilian pilot. So it's come to light now that was actually Kurt Russell.
Wow.
So he accounts that he was flying to Arizona with his son. He was bringing him in to visit his girlfriend. So pretty awesome dad, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll just fly you to Arizona to see your girlfriend. So they're flying in, and I think they were about a mile out from where they were supposed to be landing, and they caught sight of the lights coming towards them. So it's like 8 or 9 lights, and if you know the story, you know it was flying in a perfect V formation. So they were both just kind of mesmerized by this. And then his son finally popped up and said, "Dad, what is that? Are we okay?"
That's a fair question.
Yeah.
You know, what in the heck is coming towards us? So he's like, "I have no idea what that is. I'm going to call it in, though." So he calls traffic control, reports what he sees, and they come back saying, "We don't see anything on our radar. There's nothing up there with you. We don't see anything."
Mm-hmm.
So he jotted it down in his logbook as unidentified flying object. So the story goes on. He landed in Phoenix and dropped his son off and then headed back home. What's interesting is neither he or his son ever spoke of it again after that event.
Huh.
And he didn't actually recall it until one day he stepped downstairs and Goldie Hawn was watching a program on TV, I guess some kind of UFO documentary, and they were talking about the Phoenix Lights incident. So,
what are the odds? That's crazy.
Right? And he's watching this documentary with her, and he's like, "I know this. Like, why do I know this?" And they were describing, you know, how the first report came from an unknown pilot, and then he suddenly realized it hit him. You know, that was me. I can prove this. And
Wow.
yeah, the memories just flooded back to him. So he ran to his upstairs and dug out his logbook from that night, and there it was. The log of his flight showed the position where he was in and the notes that he took on what he saw. So, yeah, there you have it.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
That anonymous civilian pilot actually ended up being Kurt Russell.
If you can't believe Kurt Russell, who can you believe?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what caught my eye about the story is the recalled memory of it, and the fact that he almost right after he left his son, you know, they just kind of wiped from their memory, and a lot of people that witnessed the Phoenix Lights event reported the same thing. You know, they remember witnessing the lights and they remember what they saw and everything, but you know, after that, their mind is just a blank. Like a lot of people report that they don't even remember going to bed.
Yeah, I heard that.
But they witnessed this and woke up the next day, almost like a lost time event.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's all I've really got to say about that. I thought the recalled memory was kind of, that stood out to me.
Yeah, it does. I remember hearing about that, and I don't know. I never would have. You don't think that someone like Kurt Russell is going to be a part of it? Not that you necessarily should believe what.
You know, he's going to be in this. He's in Guardians of the Galaxy too. So I mean, it's not like he's hurting for publicity or anything.
That's
like that.
it. Yeah.
Why would he lie about something like this?
That's what I was going to say. Is he's not one of those that needs the attention.
All eyes are on you. Yeah, if all eyes are on you anyway, you know, what more attention do you need? So.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's Kurt Russell, so kind of have to believe him.
That's a great little bit of news. That's cool, man. I have a couple of stories. One is a little uplifting, and one not so much. I'll leave.
Well, remember, we're dialing it down, so
yeah.
Start with the lighthearted one first.
All right, let's do that. So the so-called First Nation state in space is about to make its first foray into the final frontier. Brainchild of Russian nanoscientists and masterminded by an international consortium of scientists, engineers, businessmen, and lawyers, the extortionately ambitious endeavor aims to found an entire nation in orbit with Earth. The idea behind Asgardia, which is named after the mythical city of Norse mythology, which is super cool, is to create an independent country where scientific advancement is prioritized over finances and politics.
Here, I'm done with that.
Right. He says 60 years after the launch of the first ever artificial satellite, Sputnik, Our own space satellite, Asgardia 1, will mark the beginning of a new era, taking our citizens into space in virtual form at first. It will contain data stored for free up to 1.5 million Asgardians on board the satellite. These are historic days, and your names and data will stay forever in the memory of the new space humanity, as it will be reinstalled on every new Asgardia satellite we launch. How neat is that?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really, really ambitious for our time.
It is. It's a good use of our time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the negativity and all the things we're doing that aren't positive, this is a really cool way to go. And God knows I want to go there. So,
well, yeah, society's we're just kind of spinning our wheels now. I feel like.
Yeah, this is an uplifting way to possibly better things. Probably not in our lifetime, but.
Well, it makes me excited that there are people out there that are looking to the distant future.
Dare I say, it seems like the Russians are. You know, they're always been big with the space program, so
yeah,
maybe they'll do something. That'd be great. It's funny too, because aside from all the politics across the world, like NASA works with everybody. Like they work with everybody. They all put the politics aside to try to figure out something bigger and better.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's, science is like the one platform of humanity where we all get along and we all share information and we're all working together, towards that single goal. Like science is the only real place where that happens.
Yeah, it is. That's what's really one of the many things that's really cool about it. All right, so are you all prepared for me to drop it a little bit now?
Drop it.
I'm ready.
So, scientists now believe that the mysterious 1977 space signal had actually come from a passing comet. The WOW signal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Astronomers have been listening out for extraterrestrial signals for years.
Wait.
Okay.
Are you going to ruin my star child and you're going to ruin the WOW signal?
I'm that guy,
He's
unfortunately.
dropping the bomb
You're
on
that
us.
guy.
I'm that guy. I hate to be that guy. Yeah. You know what? I've offered you hope with Bigfoot before. So, anyway.
I'm going to take my Bigfoot.
Yeah, you'll have to take your Bigfoot.
Please go ahead and.
It has remained for the past 40 years one of the most tantalizing and perplexing examples ever recorded. Originating at the global cluster of M55 in the constellation Sagittarius, the signal lasted approximately 72 seconds. Astronomer Jerry Amen, who was the first to examine the computer readout, famously wrote the word "wow" on the page. Now, however, 4 decades on the signal's original detection, astronomer Antonio Paris from St. Petersburg College, Florida, and colleagues believe they may have finally solved the mystery, and unfortunately, it doesn't appear to have to do anything to do with aliens. They found that 2 comets, 266P/Christensen and P/2008Y2 Gibbs, happened to be passing through the part of the sky being watched by the observatory when the signal was picked up. By surveying the same region of the sky as one of the same comets was passing by again, they managed to record the exact same signal that had been detected back in 1977. This investigation, therefore, has concluded that cometary spectra are observable at 1,420 megahertz, and that the 1977 WOW signal was a natural phenomenon from a solar system body.
Dang.
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, I think it's really cool that they figured that out so many years later, but still, it's a little disappointing.
It is. Here you go. Here you go.
There you go.
I've never had a real good use for that, but there we go.
There we go.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But I think it's one of those things that we need to report. We look on, and you know what? It was still pretty impressive that they called it in 1977.
Yeah.
Like we discussed with the Star Child, I accept that data. If that sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it?
And I'm not going to continue to fight for that. And I think that's when you start to brew, crazy conspiracies and things like that.
What's really cool to know, though, is, well, the downside of us bettering our knowledge and our technology is that we're going to probably, a lot of those sorts of things are going to be dealt with, unfortunately. But there's still every day we're coming up with new things, and hopefully they can last. As we grow further, I'm sure a few of them will also be dealt with, but there will always be some that just last. As in tonight's Men in Black, there's been so many things. The Phoenix Lights. There's just probably going to be no dealing with those rationally.
Yeah.
So it all is never lost. Never.
Except when it comes to the Star Child.
And the WOW signal, apparently, yes. It's true. Those are lost. Unfortunately, I'm not happy about it either. I just thought you guys should know.
Yeah, have you ever thought on the WOW signal, or he wrote WOW next to it on his notes. Mm-hmm. Depending on what decade that may have been heard, we would refer to it in a different way. Like if that was heard in the 90s, would it be known as the dude signal?
It'd be whoa signal.
The Jinkies signal.
The Jinkies signal. Run roll. I guess that's possible too. Yeah. Never thought about that. You make me a better thinker. Well, I'll tell you what, let's get to a quick break and we'll get back and get into those pesky Men in Black. Everybody good with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I never want to cut you guys short if you come up with another story or have more to say. All right. Well, we'll be right back.
There's a new show in town. It's not your ordinary show. Every other Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, I'll podcast on your grave. Featuring monsters, slashers, ghosts, zombies, and more. So if that's something you're into, join us. Head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com for all the details.
I kind of view my world through a scientific lens. Science, at its roots is having an open mind and accepting that we don't know everything. We don't have all the answers, but we have to continue to ask why and ask for more and look deeper and continue researching things.
Spookhouse Radio.
We do indeed continue asking why, and what, and who. We have to ask all those questions. What? So here we are asking who tonight. Who are these Men in Black? Ryan, who do you think they are? What are the Men in Black? I'll tell you what, fill us in on what are they first.
There are lots of different theories.
It is Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones.
Here come the Men in Black.
There we go.
Yeah, we said we were trying to avoid that now.
Right. We got jiggy with it earlier. Let's move on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so here's the nutshell explanation. So over the many decades since UFOs have, begun to be reported, there have been several people that have, after reporting a UFO sighting, they've been visited by a mysterious group of men, always dressed in black, hence the name Men in Black. And they always seem to carry a warning with them for you not to speak of the event that you witnessed, that it would be in your best interest if you just forgot everything you saw. So that's the nutshell of it. So,
I mean, it really is like in the movie. I mean, at least essentially that's the point.
Basically,
yeah.
The erasing your mind and things like that. Mm-hmm. That's strictly to the movie, but yeah,
well, maybe.
They always appear and threaten or harass people that have witnessed UFOs. That's the gist of it. Mm-hmm. So the earliest encounter that we know of was in 1947, I believe, and that was reported by Harold Dow. He is the witness of the Maury Island event. Mm-hmm. And we can go into that another time, but basically, after he witnessed these UFOs and began to talk about them, he was visited by a single man in a dark suit.
Can I mention just really quick that he was actually out on his boat when he witnessed that? And I think he says one of the objects actually fell apart and spilled debris, which killed his dog and injured his son.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, he's that's something you're definitely going to speak about and, try to seek answers for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's affected your family directly. But so he was approached by a man, in a dark suit, fits the description. And he was told that it'd be in his best interest if he didn't speak of this UFO sighting ever again.
Mm-hmm.
To just drop everything. So the next, the biggest, or the next, the biggest report was from John Keel, which is a ufologist and also the author of the Mothman prophecies.
Oh.
So that's interesting as well. And he was a known ufologist and was always doing, research on people's sightings.
What year was that? Do you know?
That was
not to put you on the spot. I'm just curious.
What did I write that down? 67, I think.
I've got a different name is all. That's the only reason I ask. I have Robert Richardson.
The
Men in Black have been on there and changed the facts.
No, I've seen the one about Mr. Keel.
Okay.
I saw that article earlier tonight.
So he was approached by these men, and he was warned, that he needs to cease his UFO research, or bad things could become of him and his family. Now, what's interesting about his account is that he went into greater detail about what these men actually looked like.
Right.
And he said that, along with the black suits that were typical, their facial features were exotic and strange, like almost otherworldly, he said.
Mm-hmm.
And their mannerisms and just the way they conducted themselves just seemed really off. Not in a manner of like being like a foreigner or anything, but just you're not really behaving human like.
Right.
If you get the point there. And he went as far as to call them demonic supernaturals. So whatever he witnessed there, he absolutely took that as something paranormal. So that kind of branches into different theories that people have about the Men in Black. So some people believe that, it's part of the U.S. government and, they're helping the continued conspiracy of covering up, everything regarding UFOs and aliens and things like that.
Right.
Other people think that, it's like a government agency, but not really anything to do with the U.S., more like a world government kind of situation or a shadow government that not even, our government is really aware of, that's trying to keep the alien agenda secret. So both of those theories, being from this earth. A third theory I found was interesting is, we spoke of reptilian aliens in a past episode on UFOs, and some people theorize that if you're visited by the Men in Black and you also notice these like otherworldly features and mannerisms, that what you're actually witnessing is a reptilian in human disguise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember we did take that on just a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah. So the theory goes that, because not everybody that has witnessed a UFO, even people that have been vocal about UFOs, they've reported, never reported being visited by Men in Black.
Right.
But so the theory goes that if you are visited by the Men in Black, then what you actually witnessed was something related to reptilian aliens. That you, witnessed some kind of reptilian alien UFO activity. And they would very much like to keep that a secret.
Yeah, I imagine they would. There's actually a photo, take it for what you will, but there was one of the cases later on, and of course I won't get into that. but there was a case later on where a friend of a couple that was visited actually caught what's supposedly a photo of one of the men in black.
Ooh.
And yeah, it looks, honestly, not to sound like I'm joking, but it looks like one of the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
It's a guy standing outside of a building, looking kind of serious in a black suit and a black hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's scary looking. If that's really that, it's scary. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, so that was kind of the three basic theories on it, but I was interested to hear from you guys. Like, what do you think they could be? Do you agree with those theories, or does anybody have anything kind of out there as to who these men could be and why they're so interested in keeping UFOs hush hush?
I don't know. I've heard a different description of them where it was more pale instead of the exotic skin color. So I had heard speculation that it was a mix between grays and like humans, like it was just
like a human,
like an off-white
hybrid.
Right. Well, like as if it was.
Well, yeah, just a mix. I get what you're saying.
But yeah, that it was more like a pale, clammy kind of. And I couldn't find that tonight, of course, even though I had heard that in the past.
Sure.
But I don't know.
Yeah, so really, I think you can take it, whatever your favorite flavor of alien species might be.
Right.
I think you can kind of adapt that theory to any of them that, whatever you witnessed,
What I do find interesting
could be,
is, everybody that has reported these men in black are threatened to hush about it, and then they turn around and report them.
Yeah, you can see how there would be a good reason behind it for the government or a shadow government or aliens.
Yeah,
you can understand why any of them would want it hushed up. So that doesn't really help narrow it down. Any one of them has a good reason to stop it leaking. I really don't know. I think
so.
If the government hid Roswell and things, then I think it's definitely possible that it's just government. The CIA are very, very hush hush about things like that.
Right.
So, but I don't know. I'm not going to rule anything out. That's certainly not definitive.
To expand on Megan's last thought on people, you've been warned, but they go ahead and report it anyway.
Right.
What if this phenomenon is occurring and people are being approached by these things and they're listening and they're keeping hush hush?
Yeah.
Like these dudes in black suits showed up to my house and threatened my family. So yeah, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I didn't see a thing.
Yeah. So.
In 1976, there was a case with Dr. Herbert Hopkins, and he had an encounter with him. He received a phone call from a man who identified himself as a rep of New Jersey UFO organization, and he said the man asked him if he was alone and available to discuss his research. He agreed, and by the time they finished discussing what he'd found, the man on the phone was walking up his stairs to his door. His description of the man who appeared at the door is...
That's scary.
Yeah. He said the man wore a neatly tailored black suit, was bald with no eyebrows or eyelashes, had smooth, dead white plastic skin and ruby red lips. He said he took out a coin and told him to watch it. As he watched it, started to develop a silver color instead of copper, and then the silver became bluish, and the penny was getting fuzzy, out of focus, blurred, and then it was gone. It slowly dematerialized. After that, the man ordered him to destroy his research, and that was that.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a story that goes a little later on. I guess I'll go ahead and do it now, and then we'll just talk about the whole thing. This is, of course, the one that everybody's going to find the coolest, Dan Aykroyd. He actually sold a series to the Sci-Fi Channel called Out There, and it would break serious ground revolving around topics like UFOs, crop circles, and abductions. On a break during interviews for the show, he stepped outside and saw a black Ford sedan with a man in black standing outside it. He looked away for a brief moment. When he looked back, the car was gone. And 2 hours later, the car disappeared, Dan was given bad news, and he said, "We were told not to continue taping, that the show was canceled, and none of it would air." So,
Wow.
Dan
nuts.
freaking Aykroyd, a Ghostbuster himself, he's really into this field, so
Yeah.
you know that he's studied a lot. It's not like he's just, spewing things out. That's scary.
Yeah.
Again, it's like with Kurt Russell. Dan Aykroyd has nothing to gain from lying about it.
No, and you can see if you've ever seen him in an interview about aliens. He's got a lot of
He's very
conviction about
serious
it.
about it.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. A lot of people are saying he's out of touch and older, but that's just not true. He actually grew up in a family. He got into the paranormal when he was young. He has a book out that tells the stories of him and his father and his family. He said he was sneaking around downstairs, and he happened to walk in on a seance of his family. He said he looked in the middle of the room, and there was, what was it, a plate or the table? Something was floating, and when he looked at it, it just dropped. He said from then on, he had this insane interest in the paranormal.
Yeah.
And obviously
Can
you
you
would.
blame him? Yeah.
Okay, that's the TV show I want, like the young Dan Aykroyd adventures.
Yeah, he has a book. We need to read the book and talk about it, actually. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Why don't we just call him and get an interview?
Oh,
guys?
wouldn't that be great? You know what? Maybe one day. You never know.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
You never know.
We've witnessed a non-terminal repeating phantasm, or it might
So,
be a class 5 full roaming vapor.
So there's a story from 2008, if I may, and I believe it's the last one I have, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The most interesting encounter with him was reported by Shane Sovar on October 14th of 2008. Manager Shane Sovar and a security guard reported seeing a large triangular UFO outside the building. A group called the Aerial Phenomenon Investigations Team looked into it. They reported that a couple weeks later, two unidentified men in black visited the hotel. They terrified the hotel staff and were looking for Sovar and the guard. Luckily, they were not at the hotel. However, cameras caught the men in black on footage. Sovar said the hotel guests described the men as tall black suits, identical faces, no eyebrows or eyelashes, and extremely pale. I'm watching a repeat of the video as we speak, and it's insane. So who are they? That's the question.
Yeah, that's the description I was looking for that I couldn't find. That the no eyebrows, extremely pale.
We will put this video over on the website, and it's really disturbing. It's hard to tell, of course, as most videos on the internet are, but it's pretty freaky looking.
Yeah.
Just the
it
guys.
It looks like the same person.
It really
in.
does. It looks like two of the same person walking. It's creepy, and it's just unnerving to look at.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because we're talking about it and it's 3:11 in the morning, but yeah, it's really unnerving.
I have a different encounter with them. If you guys wanted to hear that,
Sure.
Absolutely.
Are you both familiar with the Solway Firth spaceman picture?
Let me see.
It's a
Sounds
picture.
familiar, but enlighten me.
It's the Englishman who was taking a picture of his little girl, and I think
the
little,
there's like an astronaut looking figure
behind her. Yeah, so he was approached after. Now, his story went big after Kodak verified his photo as authentic. Nothing had been tampered with. So his story went public. And not long afterward, he was visited by two quote-unquote government agents who referred to themselves as number 9 and number 10. And they demanded to see the site of the photo and questioned, his name is Jim Templeton. They questioned him about the event. And when he told them that he didn't see the figure, it just became apparent after the photos were developed. They became angry and stormed out of the field, never to be seen again. Templeton was later contacted by two employees at a missile launch pad in Australia who claimed that they saw two figures that resembled the man in the daughter's photo on launch pad security footage. Apparently, the missiles in that launch pad were produced only 20 miles away from the field where Templeton took the photo of his daughter. So there could have been, something following that missile. You always hear that nuclear stuff will attract aliens. I don't know if they can
Yeah, we've talked about that. Now, maybe they shut down any kind of nuclear things to protect some interest in the Earth. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were visited by thing 1 and thing 2. Is that what you said? Is that what they called it?
Number 9 and number 10.
Okay. That's scary.
So,
the names even.
When he revealed, I didn't actually see this thing. It just kind of turned up on my film, and he said that they became angry.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were they angry at him for not having more info, or were they angry that one of their alien colleagues kind of screwed up and
I don't know.
appeared in a photograph?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they're already reportedly, not very welcoming people, these men in black. Could you imagine them being angry at you?
Yeah.
Even the illustrations of them are quite terrifying to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at one now, and Jesus, it's really unsettling. It is. I don't know where I'll land on who they are. Obviously, there's something, as you said when describing them initially, that there's something off about them. There's no question about that. What does that mean, though? What level of off? How far off?
So that's kind of where I land on it. I don't think... I don't think that they're really of this world. I think that they're working together with whatever entities they're trying to hide.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. We would love to hear what you guys out there think, because we obviously can't give you a definitive answer.
No.
Where do you all land on it?
How could we? But it's something definitely to keep in our minds.
I don't want to give you a definitive answer on this one.
No.
This is one I don't want an answer on myself.
I always talk about I'm fortunate for having not experienced anything that, scares me.
Yeah, don't
this is
start
one I
here.
definitely don't want to experience. But at the same time, I feel like
Unless,
I can't speculate on where they came from without having seen them.
Right. This is not...
As we mentioned in the beginning, we've been having a lot of technical difficulties this weekend, so
we have.
Maybe
we always talk about putting ourselves out there and it biting us in the butt.
Yeah.
I hope none of us get any mysterious phone calls or visitations. Got your windows. Make sure no one's peeking through the windows.
Get your pet spayed and neutered.
Take your vitamins. What are we doing now?
Say your prayers, take your vitamins, brother. I don't know what we're doing, but I think we're all a little freaked out by it because, I can honestly say that I never looked into the Men in Black myself. I knew very little outside of that there was a real story behind the silly movie, and then you really sit down, you look at these pictures and these videos and you hear these stories, and it's very unsettling. There's something, we've talked before, I think on the very first episode, on how you can talk about things that are scary, but then you can talk about the paranormal, and then it's just this different level. It's like your soul becomes shaken or something. And that's kind of how I feel about this,
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody, if you got any theories, we'd love to hear them. Or where do you land on it? How would you feel if you were visited by them? Let's not find out for sure, but yeah.
Or if you have been visited, not to speak.
Yeah,
we won't air that.
Yeah,
but we're interested in hearing your story anyway.
Yeah,
we don't want to endanger your family if you've been warned.
Give us an anonymous letter.
Yeah, that's very true. We don't want you in danger, but yeah, well. Well,
I think that kind of wraps it up for Men in Black, don't you think?
As for tonight, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think. Say,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think later we could sit down and maybe look into all the intricate details of the stories and maybe talk about it again a little more in depth. But I think for tonight we've touched on all the, or at least most of the main reports and who they are. And yeah, later I think we could dive in a little harder. So go ahead. Sorry, Megan.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're good. I know we keep knocking that movie, but now it's been since 1997 when it came out that I've seen it. So I kind of want to watch it again just to see you know, what kind of stuff is in the movie.
There's what, 3 of them
I
now?
remember it was a fun movie.
Yeah.
I remember
really
Yeah.
about it at least.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good time with it.
Well, and it's just like anything, Hollywood's going to put their spin on it, but still, I'd like to see what they threw in there.
Well, speaking of Dan Aykroyd and ghosts, there's a certain show going to come up on Retro After Dark fairly soon, the Ghostbusters episode.
All right.
I figured here would be a pretty good spot to mention a few things. This upcoming week is actually going to be the I'll Podcast on Your Grave episode number 2, and we hope for it to go a little better than the first one, technically at least. It's a fun episode, but technically it didn't go so well for us. We're working on actually adding the episodes to the calendar on the website, but the calendar's up, so head over to midnightspookhouse.com and click on events, and you'll have a calendar, and you'll know what we're going to talk about and when, so you don't have to miss any episodes. As always, you can go to mixlr.com/spookhouse-radio, and that's where we'll be live, and all of our archived episodes will be on midnightspookhouse.com. You can find us on Twitter at The Spookhouse and Facebook, The Midnight Spookhouse. I think that catches us up a little on where we are socially and our presence and things. Let's take a break real quick, and we'll get to some really fun stuff from you guys.
Okay.
All right, sounds great.
Do you hate the Ghostbusters? I hate the Ghostbusters. If you're like me, then you should not tune in to the Retro After Dark radio show, taking place every other Wednesday at 10 p.m. Nighty-night. Spookhouse Radio.
Who could hate the Ghostbusters?
For real.
Sandman, that's who. So, for our second topic of the night, we've had a lot of questions and comments come in, actually, and we are eternally grateful for all of you that
overloaded.
Yeah.
It's usually one or two that come in, but
and we are eternally grateful.
Catch up now.
Yeah, for that you're listening and interacting. We're fortunate enough to be able to even have listeners this early on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What we're finding is a lot of folks can't make the live show since they're late, and we've discussed it, and we think the best way is to do an encore the next night a little earlier. And as always, we'll be in chat for those, so we can kind of hang out and chat with you while the show plays. But you guys are tuning in and you're sending us questions, and we love you. So thank you all for that. Tonight we're going to spend the second half of the show fielding some of those questions and reading some of the things you've written us, which is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Lay it on me. What do they want to know?
All right, Ryan, here we go. Are you ready for this one? Question 1. And I want a definitive answer. New to the field here, wondering if it's weird that I'm almost too scared to even listen. LOL. And that comes from Gabby. Is it a legitimate fear? Should she be afraid
to listen to our show?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think we're pretty welcoming. We're not too creepy.
I think she's more worried about the paranormal, her opening herself up like we are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the same kind of fear I had learning about combustion. It's like, oh, now I know. Oh, God.
And the fear we all now have about the Men in Black.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
I think it comes with practice. It's easy to research paranormal things, in the middle of the day or surrounded by friends,
Yeah.
But when you're by yourself at night, it does get creepy.
It does.
And the only way I've found that I was able to get over that is just embracing the fear and diving headfirst in and just
sleeping with your lights on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can always sleep with your lights on. There's no shame in that.
There's no shame in that at all. So I think
dog sleep at the foot of the bed. At least the dog will bark before the aliens take you.
That's true. Yeah, but if you've got one of those dogs that barks at everything, that might make it worse. Yeah. So
yeah.
But I think where we land on that is pretty much, in my opinion, I think, like, if you have a spirit around, I think if you're willing to interact with it, I think you make yourself more susceptible. I do.
Yeah.
I believe that you can become like they say a Ouija board isn't anything unless you make it something. And I think that
Unless you believe in it.
Right. I think that we can. I don't necessarily think listening to the show or reading about it's going to, make the ghost just come strolling in. But I do believe there are certain ways that you can maybe become too open to it. I don't know. And there's people who do that because they want the experiences. But I don't think you should be worried about it. No, I think you're fine. I mean,
what I would suggest to you, Gabby, is to join us in chat.
Yeah.
That way you can enjoy the show, and you'll be surrounded by other listeners that you can interact with, and
that's it.
Hopefully that'll make things less creepy to experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Gabby, come hang out with us. Again,
play with us.
Well, that doesn't sound
Gabby
creepy.
Never listened ever again.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gabby. Sorry.
Right, and that was the end of Gabby's paranormal experience. All right, well, thank you, Gabby, and we hope to see you soon. All right, now, we've got another one, and this was a good one, too. I don't know. You can view this as you choose. Just wanted to say that I agree with you about most things, but I think a lot of the cryptids will turn out to be dogs or other ordinary animals. That comes from JB. So what do y'all think about that? It's likely that a lot of them will. But
I think that's a lot of what the chupacabra incidents turn out to be.
Yeah.
To me, at least.
yeah.
Just a weird hairless dog, or maybe a dog with some kind of deformity, and people just kind of mistake it for that. And I think like we discussed on our cryptids episode, there's that danger when you're doing this research and looking in the field for these things. There's that danger of you wanting it to happen so bad.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking so hard and wanting that evidence so bad that you begin to, I'm not going to say see things, but your mind is looking for what you want to happen versus what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Although I do want to, hold on to just 150 years ago, gorillas that's crazy. Nobody's ever seen one of those. There's no evidence. And then all of a sudden, now we have gorillas in all the zoos. So,
yeah,
I'm just saying there's hope for the Woodburger yet.
There is. Yeah, one day he could be at the zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could absolutely be JB. I think I don't think we would ever naysay that, honestly. If we come across that way, I'm sorry. I don't think we mean to.
I think we try to approach it from a scientific standpoint.
I think that's
on the show.
Yeah.
So, as you've probably heard, we had some awesome news from Dale that the Star Child was of this Earth, and now the WOW signal was not extraterrestrial.
Right.
So when presented with absolute facts, we're willing to accept that.
Right. Yeah.
So we're people of science, I guess.
We are. Yeah, that's not to say, that's we're open. We want to learn about it all, and that's why we're here. Yeah. So there you go, JB. Hope that was some form of satisfactory. Yeah, we're just
if not. Write us again.
Tell us how we failed you. All right, so on to yet another. I wanted to say that I like the show a lot so far. It's pretty early, but it sounds good, and you guys seem to genuinely care about hearing from the people the things that you're talking about. I know you've talked about what got you into it a little bit, but you haven't said much about whether you've been out hunting aliens, ghosts, or Bigfoot. Thanks, guys. Keep it up, and I'm sure you'll grow and grow. That comes from Doug. Well, thanks you, Doug.
Yeah. That's so nice.
Doug is a good guy. Doug is a good guy. Thank you again, Doug. That is really awesome. As a group, we have not been. Megan is probably too scared, and Ryan and I are just big, mean guys who aren't terrified of anything.
In my defense, I bought a telescope. It just happened to be a piece of junk because I got it from a flea market. But I have been wanting to look at the skies.
She will hunt from afar, in other words.
Yeah.
we've actually made plans to start getting into, getting out into the field and speaking to some witnesses. And
we have, yes.
Whether that be from UFOs or even ghostly experiences. So to answer your question, it's not happened yet, but it's certainly in our plans to do so. Now, I will say, and we've not gotten to this on the show yet, but we do have some encounters. We've experienced some things personally, and I'd like to do a show about that sometime.
Yeah.
I think we kind of lightly touched on that, but you will hear about the things that we have personally experienced so far. So definitely look forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the terror that we went. Yeah, not all of them were horrific, but yeah, we haven't been yet, but we plan to, Doug. So,
and thanks for listening, Doug.
Yeah. Thank you, and thanks for encouraging us.
What is it about the name Doug? You just want to be like, thanks, Doug. You're a good guy, Doug.
It sounds like a great name to say.
Have you ever met a Doug that wasn't a great guy?
That's exactly
Just
it.
like a genuine good guy.
Yeah. We're not trying to judge the book by the Doug cover, but but he's clearly a nice guy. So, here's another one. This one is interesting. Do you believe the Bloody Mary mirror trick or other spooky paranormal games? This is anonymous. There's something spooky about that, isn't there? Anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's the shadow in the corner. But do you?
So, have you ever done the Bloody Mary?
No.
Yes.
I have not.
You have? I have myself. Now, there's many different versions of it and what you're supposed to do. There's some that involve, lighting a candle and then you say Bloody Mary you blow out the candle and say Bloody Mary 3 times, and then you relight the candle, and then you should see her in your mirror.
Yeah.
It's the version that I heard, the version that I tried, at one of those wonderful sleepovers on a dare.
Yeah.
Was you just go in the bathroom and stare at your own reflection in the mirror. And while staring into your own eyes, you turn off the lights and then speak very clearly, Bloody Mary 3 times. And then the mirror should be illuminated, or you'll feel yourself being grabbed or something. I think the story that I heard, it depended on the pureness of your soul.
Oh, yeah.
If you were, I guess, a not so great person, she might not like that and try to pull you in.
No.
But I did it. I followed those instructions, and I was just standing there in the dark in my bathroom until I was like, okay, and turn on the lights, and I didn't experience anything.
I was always too scared, but you always had those friends who's like, yeah, my sister did that, and she's still got a cut on her arm from when she grabbed her.
Yeah. All kinds of stories like that. So, Megan, you said that you did it too. Was that like the same sort of steps? I know there's all kinds of different versions of it out there, but
well, I had the lucky disposition of being the youngest one in all the girl cousins and such, so I always got picked on. But I think pretty much what happened is they told me to go in the bathroom in the dark and, say what I had to say, and I just got too scared. So I was probably a little too young to be playing those kinds of games at our sleepover, but I went in and I did it, and I was like, oh God, it's coming, and I just ran away without seeing anything.
So you didn't really do it. Well,
I tried, but I was little, so.
Well, I don't have a story at all, except that I heard lots of other stories and never saw anyone do it,
So, Anonymous mentioned Bloody Mary specifically, but also asked about other, weird rituals or nighttime games you can play. Now, I've actually never tried this. I'll openly admit that I would probably be too scared to try this, but have you ever heard of the Midnight Man?
I have not, no.
So, this is and don't try this at home, kids. I'm not encouraging anyone to try this or anything. So I think I'm going to be vague about the steps. How about that?
Okay.
If you want to try this on your own, you're going to have to do your own research, and that's all on you. So the Midnight Man, it's a game similar to the Bloody Mary experience. You're probably going to play this, at a sleepover with your friends. But there's a very specific ritual that you follow, and it takes place at one of the exits to your home. Must be a wooden door, it specifically says, and everyone's going to need to do a little bit of bleeding. You're going to have to cut
Jesus Christ,
cut yourself and write your name on a slip of paper.
Okay.
So then there's some other things I'm not going to go into because again I don't want that on us. If anybody,
we don't want anybody reproducing this.
No, thank you.
So you do all that, light some candles, yada yada, follow these steps, and you slide the piece of paper with everyone's bloody signatures under the door, and then you've officially welcomed the Midnight Man into your home.
Oh no.
So that piece of it, I will say, has to begin right at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
So right at the stroke of midnight, you slide the paper into your door. Then the Midnight Man will appear, and the game officially begins.
I have a wooden door.
No, I'm getting spooked.
Yeah, no.
Are you getting spooked? So here's where the game begins. At the stroke of midnight, the Midnight Man will appear. All of the lights. Now, this is a deadly game of tag, essentially. So all the lights, and this is in one of the steps too, you have to do all of this in the dark, by candlelight. There can be no artificial electrical light. So flashlights are cheating. The only light you can have is by candle. Mm-hmm. So in the pitch black of your home, you've basically initiated a deadly game of tag with the Midnight Man. If he catches you, that's all she wrote. Apparently you're toast then. So the object of the game is, of course, to survive. You don't want to be killed by this thing, whatever it may be. And it lasts till 3 a.m. So from midnight until 3, you have to survive the Midnight Man. Now, there are specific rules while you're playing too, and you can look this up as well. Your candle, he's afraid of the light himself. So the only way you can really kind of repel the Midnight Man is to keep your candle lit and safe. But he's going to be trying to put out your candle with devious tricks, sudden bursts of wind and things like that. And once you're in pitch black darkness, then you're free game for him to get you. So,
well, that sounds terrible.
So hope that you have a big house if you're going to play this game, because you have to survive from midnight till 3 in the dark. I guess you can run and you can hide, but if that candle goes out, then the Midnight Man will find you.
I'm no naysayer, but it sounds like the fact that there's a time frame is like, hey, let's make this fun for a few hours. You know what I'm saying? I'm no naysayer
at all, though.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean, though. Usually if there's a time limit, it's probably not that deadly unless it's a movie.
I just want to know, if you turn your lights on, do you forfeit? Will he go away? Is the invitation over?
Apparently, if you turn on the lights, then you will actually see the Midnight Man.
Oh, no.
And that is the last thing you will ever see.
Oh.
So
he's not invited over.
Nope.
No,
Never.
you do not actually want to see his physical form, they say.
What is there a description of him, or nobody knows because everybody dies?
Nobody knows because anybody that's ever seen him has died.
All right.
Shoo.
So there's another game for you.
Yeah, that's the fun one, kids.
Again, I don't condone any of that. So if you're interested in a deadly game of tag, you can look those steps up on your own. So,
but don't.
Here's another story I've heard.
Right.
And this is it goes by a couple of different names, like the Midnight Taxi Ride or the Night Driver,
the 2 a.m. Uber to Waffle House.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to be vague here, but
yeah, let's definitely not help anyone do these things.
So the way this one goes is you have to. This can't be done on a cell phone. Apparently, this has to be done on a landline.
On a rotary phone.
I don't know if that's true, but essentially, what you do is follow some specific steps. I think this one actually has to do with some ingredients. Like drawing a circle and a certain material and sitting in it, and then at the stroke of midnight, you pick up the phone. You don't have to dial anything. You just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I want to take a ride," and then hang up the phone. Then you go sit by your window, and in a few moments, a taxi will pull up, a black colored taxi. Now, there are very specific rules. That's essentially the start of the game when the taxi's pulled up.
Yeah.
Now you have to follow. The steps are very specific, and if you move from them at any point, things could go deadly for you, or you could be trapped in limbo, essentially. So this is what they call the first escape point. If you've chickened out at this point, you have to at least go speak to the driver and tell him, "I've changed my mind," or "I'm not available for the ride after all. I apologize." And then he'll drive on without you. If you want to go on the ride, you don't speak to the driver. Just walk to the other side of the car and get in the back seat. Now, he's going to take you down the road, and you can look around out the windows, and everything's going to seem very strange or alien to you, or at least like you're on an unfamiliar street, even though this would happen, on the street where you live.
Yeah.
So as soon as you take off, you're going to be in an unfamiliar territory. So the rules go, the midnight driver will be picking up other passengers, and these could be anything from other entities, spirits, or whatever, or reflections of yourself and what's going on within your own heart. So the rule is you can look out the window all you want. You do not speak to the driver, and you do not speak to anyone that enters the vehicle unless asked a specific question. And you don't look at whoever gets in the vehicle. So hands to yourself, eyes up front. He's going to be stopping. You can take the ride as long as you want, but he's going to be taking other stops and taking other passengers and letting them out. So I guess the object of this game is to see how long you can stand to last.
Wow.
So do you just get dropped off at a random location, or do you wind up back home when you get out?
You're not supposed to speak to the driver unless spoken to. He will ask you at 2 separate times. I forget how he words it. So it's essentially, have you had enough? Would you like me to take you home? And at that point, you're able to say, yes, I would like to go home. And he'll take you back. It's very important that you thank the driver. That's one of the number one rules about this. Okay. You thank him for the ride. Now, I think you're supposed to. I don't know. You look up the specifics online if you're interested in this. I think he takes you to your house and lets you out. You don't speak to him, but you return to the phone, and you sit back down where you were and pick up the phone and say thank you for the ride. And then you hang up the phone, and then the game is ended. So,
and if you don't thank him,
then you have essentially welcomed all sorts of nasty spirits into your home.
No.
Basically, you're messing with some kind of curse when you play this game. So if you don't specifically do the phone call at the end to thank the driver, then the game is still going, essentially.
Oh, no.
But once the driver has left you, you may never see him again, and there's no way to call him back if the game is still going.
Right.
So essentially, you're stuck
with
in
it.
this.
Yeah.
You're stuck in this endless loop where spirits are free to come and go amongst your home.
Yikes.
So you can, back to the ride itself, you can turn down his offer to take you home the 2 times. And if you turn down both times, then you're along for the ride for a much longer period, and things are supposed to get more terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you've experienced several other nasty things, I mean, I don't know if these were accounts or not. I mean, this just sounds like some silly game to me, but people have said, they'll see dead relatives or people that have abused them in the past will enter the vehicle and yell things at them and harass them. And
oh no.
What makes the game difficult, obviously, is, you can't interact with whoever gets in the vehicle.
Huh. Okay.
So if it's this demonic beast and he's, threatening to hurt you, you won't be hurt. They're clear on that. Like, you will not be harmed as long as you don't look at the passenger or, say anything.
Okay.
So they can threaten you and, lunge at you all they want, but you're essentially safe if you don't react.
Well, good luck with that.
So that's the midnight ride.
Right.
If anybody's interested in looking up those specific steps to it.
I know of a couple as well, and I'm finding that they're all fairly similar, but they all have key differences. I know of one called, I think it's called the Closet Game. And
those are always fun.
Yeah, right. And you're basically trying to summon a demon, which is always smart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Basically, you get in a closet and you hold up a match and you say, I won't say, because again, we don't want to enable you. But once you begin to hear any whispering, there's a certain thing you need to do. In the event that you don't do it after hearing the whisper, it's said that something will grab you from behind and drag you to eternal darkness. I don't know about you. I don't think I would just... that sounds to me like you're going in a closet and being like, screw it, I'm done with it. Take me. Because that doesn't sound fun at all.
No, we're not playing that.
Yeah, well, there's another one. It's apparently it puts most of the rest of them to shame, and it's called Three Kings, and it's said to be the mirror game to end all mirror games. Ever since its appearance on No Sleep, which is a subreddit, mirror games have been huge. We've all heard of Bloody Mary and what have you, but what about this one? It says, a few warnings though, just because it doesn't claim to summon anything doesn't mean it actually does.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you care about this one, go over to No Sleep, on Reddit, and there is a subreddit called Three Kings. I don't want to say a lot about it, but again, it's about the same thing, basically demons and such. So yeah, this one, it's not written up that well. I don't want to give steps, and that's about all it does give about it. But apparently that's one of the big ones that's floating around the internet right now.
Cool.
That one doesn't really have a history beyond 4 years ago, so take that for what it's worth.
Have you ever heard of the elevator game?
I actually have, but you go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'll, since we were being kind of vague about things, this one actually sounds, I always found it amusing because it almost sounds like a code in a video game or something. So it goes, you have to have a building with at least 13 floors and an elevator. So you go in, everybody that's playing the game steps into the elevator, and you visit a certain number of floors. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it sounds like a video game floor. So you have to, and you can't have anything on your person. So what's difficult about this is you have to remember all of it without messing up.
Right.
So it's like, go to floor 3, go to floor 6, go back to floor 1, go to floor whatever, and you follow these specific instructions. People will get on the elevator with you, and you're not supposed to interact with them at all.
Okay.
If you speak to somebody, then you've screwed it up. And you're safe until you've hit the 13th floor in the combination. So if you've done it correctly, the right number of floors, and then you hit 13, then you've taken the elevator to another realm, essentially. And then the passengers from then on will be otherworldly, I guess we'll say.
Yeah.
And it's very important after that point to not speak to them. Otherwise, you're going to be trapped on this plane.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they say is once you speak to someone from the other plane, then you'll forget the combination to get back. So once you've reached the other plane, you can get off the elevator and explore. Apparently, it's a very strange world.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different accounts on what you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But when you leave, you have to follow a specific combination to get back. If you speak to somebody, then that will apparently be wiped away from your memory. So essentially, you become doomed to travel the elevator up and down trying to remember what the combination was to get back.
Wow, okay.
So, another creepy game with very specific rules.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think I'm brave enough to try these things with all those consequences.
Yeah, I mean, they really aren't even games. They're like, hey, do you want to deal with things that could murder you? Here you go.
Hey,
true or
thrill
not.
seekers.
Right.
I think, personally, I'll just stick to video games.
Brainless boob. But yeah, Megan actually says she has one, I think. So,
yeah, I had heard of one of these, and it's basically a game of hide and seek, but you're supposed to be able to do it with a doll, and it does have some specific instructions. I think, you've got to put a lock of hair inside it and like sew it up or something.
wow, that's pretty intense.
I mean, it's kind of like you make a voodoo doll and then you get to play hide and seek with it. And I don't really remember what exactly you have to do.
Family.
But yeah, I do remember one very specific instruction is after you're done with this doll, you cannot burn the doll because that will release whatever is attached to it, and it can, either jump to you if you're right there burning it, or whatever is close by and attach itself to you, and you'd have a little spirit haunting you. But it's said that you should bury it. That way, it's just stuck there. Get a cardboard box or like a shoe box and bury the whole thing.
Can you engage the doll? Can you engage the doll in physical combat during the game of tag?
Yeah, you have to spar to earn the right to go hide and seek. No, I think you had to stick it in the bathtub. Yeah. No, you stick it in the bathtub and leave the room and maybe say some kind of incantation or something. I don't remember. But then when you come back, it's supposed to be gone, and then you have to go find her. So, kind of creepy.
Yeah, that's definitely creepy.
Here I come.
Ugh. That's not comfortable at all.
Yeah.
So this is kind of turned into a whole other topic.
Yeah, thank
you.
Thanks, Anonymous.
Yeah, thank you, Anonymous. This could have been an episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? We will make this an episode later, maybe. There are lots more out there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be a little more specific.
Maybe,
Not to put anyone in danger, but as you read the rules, it does get creepier.
It does. It really
Especially, like with the Midnight Man. I mentioned the having to write your name in your own blood. There's another piece to that. No one can forge your name, or like if I write Dale in my blood, I will be a higher priority target, I guess, for the Midnight Man for trying to deceive him.
Well,
So,
What if you use your own blood? What if you use your own blood, but you make your name illegible?
Yep.
I don't know. I think there's steps for that, like trying to. I guess it's like on a true false test, you're not sure, so you draw the little F with the little flag on it.
So it looks like
halfway. Yeah, so that angers the Midnight Man too. So that will make you a target.
But he won't know my name. He'll just see blood smudge.
I don't think it matters at that point. He knows the flavor of your blood.
He knows your butthole. He knows that.
Ew, what?
I said he knows your butthole.
Oh,
what do you mean, ew? What happened here?
He knows your butthole.
Who did this? I don't appreciate this.
Yeah, we should probably move on. That's a good way to continue to something else. Thank you, Anonymous. That was really awesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of creepy little things, whether people are making them up or they're true. That's for you to decide. But they're creepy nonetheless. Those stories.
Do you have the courage to take on the Midnight Man?
No, I do not. Please don't ever ask me that again.
There's that what if, all of these stories could be complete BS.
Mm-hmm.
Just creepy ghost campfire stories. There's no way to ever really know unless you go through the specific steps.
That's it.
So, and that's what's fun about night games like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point of them.
That's the only fun parts, the wandering, not the doing.
Yeah.
So, question number 5 for the night is, what do you think about orbs and photographs? I've heard people call these fairies, ghosts, and even aliens. What do you think? And that comes from Chris P. Well, thank you, Chris, for writing in.
Absolutely, thanks.
Like crispy?
Yes, crispy.
Crispy. Oh.
We have just dropped a whole level since then. We've got to what about my butthole to crispy. Here we are. But no, this is from Crispy, and it's a good question.
Yeah.
I think lots of people feel differently about them.
I am of the camp that there is something there. There's something to that, and it depends on the circumstance of the photograph and where it was taken. You can see pictures of family members, gathered around, and there might be an orb in a place where a family member should be, like a lost relative.
Yeah, maybe.
I think those are a bit more credible. Unfortunately, the whole orb thing can be faked pretty well. Just grab your camera and go smack your couch cushion and then take a photo through it. You'll get plenty of orbs through the dust. So it's kind of a yes or no thing. And again, I think it kind of depends on the circumstance of the photograph.
Yeah.
When you're seeing these orbs.
Mm-hmm.
And where you are. I mean, if you go take a photograph in a barn somewhere, you're going to be photographing a lot of dust particles, floating around. And again, that all could be coincidence. That very well, that family photograph that has an orb that you think is a lost family member, that just coincidentally could have been a speck of dust as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen some photographs that I'm like, yeah, I think that's something significant there. So yeah, I think there is a little something to that.
Yeah, I think there can be, sure.
As far as it being fairies, I'll admit I don't really know much about fairy lore.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not going to be a naysayer and say that that's there's nothing to that, or it's all fantasy. But if once again, if that's something that you specialize in or know a lot about, fairies, we'd love to have you on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So send us your story and what you think of it, and we'd like to be educated on the subject.
We would, yeah. I don't know much about them either. As far as orbs go, I think there's actually more anomalies that are similar to orbs, and I've always found them. I don't know. I think there's something to some of them,
like rods, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess I should have elaborated. Yeah, like rods, for example. There's what is a spirit? They say it's essentially energy.
Yeah.
So why couldn't it be a ball of light? I've actually seen some pretty compelling ones, and I've heard the stories behind them, and I was sold. And then there's a lot where you're just like, probably not. You know, that could be anything, reflection of a bug. It could be dust. But I have to say, there are compelling ones.
I've been shown some photographs, and it's like, look at all these orbs. There's some extreme activity here, and you look at it, and there are a lot flying around, but also this is in your grandma's house, and if you look around the room, it looks filthy.
Yeah.
So, make of that what you will.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm going to put a little promo in here for Paranormal Witness. There was an episode, it didn't have orbs, but it had these crazy pictures that were, I almost kind of want to compare it to like a Chinese dragon. Like it just had different parts to it, and it looked crazy. But it was, if you want to look at it, it was on Paranormal Witness. That's a great show. And yeah, I'm kind of stuttering here.
No.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to the rods thing. There have been different instances where, and if you're not familiar with rods themselves, they almost they appear in photographs too, and a lot of people mistake them. They'll just kind of write it off as an insect or something like that, flying past the camera just as the flash went off. But
it does look like almost like a centipede or a millipede, like in light flying across. It does.
Yeah, some have very specific feature, like multi-piece, features.
Yeah.
Like how you would do a centipede in an old video game.
Yeah, there you
essentially.
Go.
So, yeah, I think there's something to that.
I do as well. I think
it's an interesting.
A lot of them.
It's an interesting question. I'd like to. Like I said, I don't know a lot about it, but I'd love to. If anybody out there does, we'd love to have you on and kind of make that an episode. Educate us all.
Yeah, definitely. Write in, get in touch with us. Let's schedule a time and let's do that. So thank you again, Crispy, as Ryan has to say. We appreciate you writing in. That was a good question.
Yeah.
We have a couple more here. Do you think that within the next 30 years, normal people will be able to casually take trips into space? And this comes from Girl in Need of a Spaycation.
Girl, I am in need of a spaycation too.
Girl, let me tell you.
So. I hope we can go to space.
I actually dug up a little bit about that, if it's all right. It says, if you're tired of traditional vacations like a cruise to the Bahamas or hitting up Mexico, there may soon be an option of something that is out of this world. The company Space Adventures is hoping to bring tourists to a trip around the moon starting as early as this year.
Whoa.
The seats are expected to go for $150 million each.
What?
And they've already sold tickets to their first 2 customers.
Who is it?
Good question.
Bill Gates?
However, it has not been decided if the 2 customers will go together, if they will decide to go one to go first. Maybe an epic
with someone.
Me too. Yeah. Maybe an epic rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock showdowns in order. Though there are relatively few who would ever be able to afford such a trip, it could be worth every penny. After all, only 18 people have ever seen the moon in such a personal way, and no one's done it since Apollo 17 in 1972. The trip themselves will last about 17 days, with half of that being used to go to the moon. How close are you going to get? Space Adventures CEO Eric Anderson claims they hope to bring the spacecraft within 100 kilometers of the lunar surface. Before any manned trips to the moon take place, unmanned trips will be done in order to ensure the safety, which is great. If successful, we can only hope that others will get into the commercial space travel market to help drive down the cost. Would you go?
There you go. And that's that kind of answers the question right there, that last statement. As the technology stands now, what I would consider us normal people, I don't have $150 million laying around. So, I would consider that an extraordinary person. Yeah, that's going to limit for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
the only people that are going to be commercially going into space are the very wealthy. Yeah. Now, our technology is expanding so rapidly that I do foresee the cost coming down within the next 30 years.
Yeah.
As technology grows, as it becomes more advanced, then the more cost can come down.
Right.
And that's when, would you go to space for $1,000?
Mm-hmm.
I think that sounds pretty reasonable.
My question is when the cost comes down and there's the food club brand that'll take you, would you go with them?
Take that moped up to the moon.
Yeah. Will you take the off-brand Chariot, or will you opt for the brand name Sony trip?
Let's I know we're joking around, but that's a valid question.
No, it really is. Yeah,
that's gonna as space travel becomes more reasonable and you've got more companies doing this, it's gonna open up a whole new world of like insurance companies
and cutting corners. That's a big one.
Corners, and so you're gonna have to come up with I guess like a list of safety standards or some kind of quality control amongst all of the companies. The great
value brand trip to the moon.
Yeah.
Let Walmart take you to the moon.
I just want to say I'm a little disappointed you're not getting to land on the moon.
Well, what do you want?
I'm just expecting everything, though.
The aliens that are on the moon told us specifically not to come back there.
I know. Right. You can't go see the dark side of the moon.
Which
you're
is
just going to go close to the front.
It is,
yeah. It is.
Lots of spin-offs coming out of the show tonight. So, girl in need of a staycation. If you're rich, you can go now. If you're not, then maybe you can go within the next 30 years. Sure.
Yeah.
Possibly.
If you're really, 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 really rich, we'll go with you.
That's
Take
it.
me with you, girl.
Yes. What? Another 450 million, and we'll all go together. So, well, thank you for writing in, and we hope that our answer suffices for now. That'll definitely spawn some more topics for later.
Yeah.
And the last question we're going to take for the night, because we are kind of getting thin on time. You all have talked about what if the Loch Ness Monster had died, and it got me thinking. Do you think they live longer lives than we do, and have they always been the same ones, or somehow new ones? That comes from CH. I have no idea who that is, but thank you for writing in, CH.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess that comes down to if you kind of regard Nessie or Bigfoots, things like that, as more supernatural creatures rather than, I guess, the scientific definition of a cryptid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Personally, I've always kind of sided with the idea of cryptids being, actual tangible creatures, not really supernatural. So the idea of Nessie that you mentioned specifically, in my opinion, if the sightings of Nessie, if they've spanned, over several decades, I would assume that eventually that creature would die. That's kind of the camp I'm in now, that, if there was a Nessie, whatever this creature is likely passed away, because I'm not so certain people are really reporting new sightings of it.
I saw some news about it a couple of days ago, actually.
Oh, I've been proved wrong.
Well, maybe. We'll see.
But you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
So I guess the answer on Nessie would depend on, if this thing is like a plesiosaur, how long did they live? Is it 20 years, 60 years?
Right.
I'm not sure, but I would basically follow that model. So that might take some kind of prehistoric research to see what the textbooks say about the lifespan, the theorized lifespan of a plesiosaur.
Yeah, you're definitely, it's stacking theory on top of theory. It's like, all right, does Bigfoot exist? If so, are there ever going to be more big feet, I guess? And then it's like,
I've
how?
always wondered,
Yeah.
do you call them Bigfoots or big feet?
Right, Bigfoots
Big
sounds.
feet.
it goes.
Big feet doesn't sound right.
It doesn't, and Bigfoot's goes kind of against everything we know in the language. I don't know, but it does. You're just stacking questions on top of questions, and I'm certainly not hating on your question. That's a great question. I think it's something we have to question in general. I don't know. We wish we had some definitive answers, but in my line of thinking, I'm thinking that they certainly do live longer than we do. I know that's not super common for a lot of animals. Then you think about like elephants and things.
Yeah,
You guys are thinking. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
You guys are thinking about land animals. If we think about sea turtles, I think I've got one.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. 120 years is
I
like
was
a
just saying
standard.
with elephants that they live long lives as well.
Yeah. I just
60
pulled
to
up.
80 years or so.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Ming, the deep sea clam, but they think that it lived to be 500 years old.
Right on.
That it was born during the Chinese dynasty, the Ming dynasty.
Back in my day, he can really tell a story.
I'm just saying that, if we look at sea creatures apart, from us and what we think is a long life, maybe Nessie.
Just things in general. Yeah.
Float around for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess my point of view is that I don't think that Nessie or Bigfoots or anything I don't think they're magical creatures.
Right.
Is Ming the sea clam magical?
Ming is magical.
It depends on your definition of magical, I guess.
That may be the wrong way to put it. What I mean by that, they're not.
I get where
necessarily
you're coming from.
a paranormal entity.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. They're in your mind, they're just, we don't have any definitive proof. Therefore, they're it's not like they're just a magical creature. It's just that, they're just an unknown, more or less.
Yeah.
And that's a very fair, level-headed way to look at them, since we know so very little. I want to entertain that maybe there's something magical to them, but it'd be hard to. It's all just theories again. I don't know, but again, that goes back to someone wrote in recently and suggested that we reach out to an organization who might have more information on it than we do. So we did just that, and we haven't heard back yet, but we hope to soon, and maybe we can talk to them about it and see what they think about cryptids and things. So look forward to that. Yeah. Hopefully we can get an interview with someone and they can tell us what they've come up with in their research. They're very devoted. They're the real deal. They know a lot more than we do. They've been in the field doing it, so maybe we can give you a better answer then. But for the time being, I think we don't really know where to land on it. It's hard to say.
all we can really offer is our opinions. And
sure. Right.
That's where I stand on those subjects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's not a bad place to go with it. So I guess that's probably good for listener questions tonight, because we really are getting a little bit low on time. Is there anything else anyone wants to add?
Thank you so much for listening. So we have those listener questions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a good thing to add. Sure. Let's take a little break, and then we'll come back and we'll do the results of last week's poll. And we'll toss out what we're going to do this week. Thanks everyone who's voted as well. At first it was slow, and then just all of a sudden people just hopped right on and started voting like crazy. That's fine. If that's how you want to do it, that's fine by us. We appreciate it. So yeah, we'll be right back. So stay with us. Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever heard voices? Maybe you know someone who has. If you're afraid to share your story, there's not always an outlet, and sometimes it's scary. But don't worry about being judged. Come and hang out with us at Spook House Radio, and we'd love to hear your story. Write us an email or come hop and chat. We go live every Friday night at midnight, and we'd love to have you and your story.
Spook Spookhouse Radio. And welcome back. So yes, we did a poll last week, like we do every week, and it was a very, very tied into the topic last week. We asked which cryptid you thought was most likely to be real, and I'm going to say that I was a little surprised with the results. So the El Chupacabra actually led and won with 40%. Bigfoot 33%, Mothman 20%, and Nessie with only 7%. I was a little surprised.
Huh.
People are losing faith in Nessie.
Mm-hmm. She to me, Nessie is a she, right?
Yeah, that's a girly name.
Okay, I thought so. Okay, so she needs to resurface about now and just show everybody that she's there.
She needs to bar about tree fitty.
About tree fitty. But no, the El Chupacabra, I wonder if they vote that way because they think that it's likely going to be something like a dog, or they think that there's actually an El Chupacabra out there. I kind of wondered that.
You hear about it a lot more than like in official news sources,
Right.
El Chupacabra discovered, and so you certainly do hear about it more often. And while at the same time, we come up with all kinds of photographs and things of Bigfoot, but no bodies or physical evidence, really.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, on these news sites, you'll find photographs of strange hairless dogs and other creatures all the time. So, what are they? Is it a specific mutation of an existing domesticated dog, or are we seeing like a consistent new species?
Right. I actually saw some news about the thylacine that Megan had spoke about.
Thylacine.
Yeah.
And it's another sighting, I think, and I have to certainly wonder about these more dog-like creatures. The thing with that one is it looks like it's come back into existence, whereas a lot of them just seem to exist. In people's mind. So that one's kind of cool in its own way, but again, I do wonder. I don't know if one day that will be taken away as a cryptid and just be another species of animal. But I think that's what you were driving at. I'm certainly not naysaying. The videos are really cool. Keep that stuff coming, people. Because what's wrong with finding out that it is just something we know of, and that's just we can focus our energy on something else. One of these days, we're going to prove something awesome.
Yeah.
Something that is terrifying and is going to keep us up at night, but we're going to prove it. This world of ours, they will. Because there's so much proof out there now. It's just, are you willing to listen to the people's stories and believe them? And we are, but that's not going to prove it to skeptics,
Yeah.
So
the truth is out there.
I want to believe.
Yeah, we are ready to believe you. I figured he was going to do that. I'll do it this time. I'll snatch it this time. But yeah, I guess we should probably do a poll for next week.
Can I just say?
Yeah, you can say whatever. Go ahead.
Real quick about that little thylacine. How cool would it be to have an extinct animal come back from extinction without the use of cloning or anything like that?
No, that would be
super pumped about that.
I just think that's a really exciting idea.
Yeah, even if
once again, we're not in control. Mother Nature is.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever whatever Mother Nature says goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be certainly paranormal. So, if nothing else, it'd lend a little validity to the paranormal field. Because it's not normal that an extinct creature comes back every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it would be cool for all of us on this end of the spectrum, at least. And good for it, too, right?
Absolutely.
So, nothing but upsides there. So, I think the poll for next week ought to be this. We talked earlier about the creepy paranormal games. Do you think there's anything to any of them? And I would like to ask, I'm going to put a box up. If it'll allow me to, let me say that first. I haven't tried it. I should have tried it pre-show, but I didn't. If so, which ones and why? Why do you think that? I'm very curious. This week it's going to be more of a I want to know what you think than our usual, hey, is it Lily Munster or, this week we want to know. We really want to know what you think.
Yeah.
So please do vote on that. I'll put a quick selection up there if you just want to be like, yes, I believe them or no, I don't. But I also want you to be able to elaborate, if you will, because that would be really cool. Let's get a show of hands. Yeah, pizza party, show of hands.
I'm all in.
Yeah. All right, well, that's all I've got for tonight. If either of you have anything that you'd like to talk about, by all means.
No, I'm good. It was a great show. And I really appreciate all the questions that were sent to us. That's incredible. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going just a couple of minutes shorter than usual, and that is only because of the time that we're going in. We didn't want to ramble on and drag it out and just make that 2-hour mark just to do it. We wanted to do the show right and not drag it on too much. So we hope that you're here right now, assuming this is tomorrow night. We hope you're here because we're here.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We did talk about the Men in Black. We'll see. Hopefully we're here hanging out with you.
Another lost episode.
Yeah. I actually thought about making the poll about the Men in Black, and then I thought better of it. I was like, we don't want that too out there. Let's not question them. They're scary and they're real, and we don't question that. So get in there and vote and tell us what you think, and we'll have fun chatting with you tonight. That is really hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard to prepare for an encore show. Yeah, well, we want to say, too, thank you so much for writing in. It has been so awesome hearing from you guys. These questions, they are better material than we can come up with ourselves. No question about it.
We definitely had some derailing with those questions.
Yeah, and thanks to you, we've got a lot of future ideas now.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Well, we hope it will be anyway. For you, we'll definitely have fun. We always have fun. So, all right. Well, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and send us out for the night. For me, again, thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night. You guys.
Good night, everyone.
Okay, there you
go. Be safe if you do any night game research or
absolutely
take a midnight
absolutely ride. And thank you, Megan, for being here with us. We appreciate having you on tonight.
No problem.
She usually shows up late in the show, and we patch her in like nothing ever happened. But tonight she was here from the start, so fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, you guys have an awesome night.